You are now entering a techie zone.
Well, welcome back into the mind of the techies world, and today we've got another unboxing video for your viewing pleasure. And this is yet another computer that I don't need, but I kind of wanted to add back into my collection. And so let's go ahead and get into it. I just took shipment of this today. Let's see here. I think I don't even need scissors for this. Let's see. This is a bit later than what I normally do my videos, you know, but that's what happens when you take shipment of something today, and you even had a night class today, so that adds even, I mean, it even, you know, sucks that way too, because, you know, I have been waiting all day to open this thing, and I just haven't been home all day, and we've had some company here earlier too, so that kind of hindered my abilities to open this here. So upon opening, I do see bubble wrap in here, some bubble wrap and packing peanuts, so let's set it back down gently. You see we've got, real quick too, the new model data is rolling in. Enough of that. So let's go ahead and get into this. I'm going to set the camera down just for one moment, and we'll get this out of here. So, this was a computer that I said before I didn't need, but I kind of wanted to add back into my computer collection. You might be able to see what it is. Let me see which way's up. Okay. Of course, we've got packing peanuts all over the place. And do a quick inspection. There's going to be no more one thing, one more last thing, so we're good in that regard. So let me go ahead and get the packing peanuts. Let me go ahead and get this mess cleaned up, and we'll continue on. Okay, so we're back. I got the box out of the way, the packing peanut mess cleaned up, and you can tell by the title what this is, and you can also tell by that it is another Apple product. So let me set the camera back down, and we'll get into this. Now, this actually was a good deal for this machine. Normally these machines sell for a lot more than what I paid for this machine. You can already tell by the title, and obviously by the quick glimpse I just gave you. If you're not familiar, the black, and here's a better view for you. Doesn't seem familiar to some people. It is, of course, a PowerBook G3. Now, I actually had a PowerBook G3 several years ago. Gosh, I want to say, I'm not sure how many years ago, but I know it was several years ago. I haven't owned a PowerBook G3 in quite a while. And this is actually the Lombard PowerBook G3. This version of the PowerBook, tape out of the way, this version of the PowerBook was technically the second revision to the PowerBook G3 series. It's technically the third or fourth revision, if you really want to think about it. But in technical terms, this was the third, this was the second revision PowerBook that came out. This was released in 1999. And the one I had, I didn't have a Lombard. The model I had was a Wall Street series. I had one of the original Wall Street series from 1998. Mine was the PDQ, the Pretty Damn Quick model, and I believe mine was 233 megahertz. This, I believe, as you can tell, it is obviously a PowerBook G3. Let's take a look at the bottom real quick. On the bottom there should be a little emblem sticker that tells us the speed of this. I think it's a 333. I think that's the speed of this here. 300, it is 333 with a 512K cache. The RAM, I think, on this machine has been upgraded to 120 something. I think that hard drive has been also upgraded as well. 8 gigs of memory with a CD. I think this thing actually has a DVD drive in it, but we'll take a look at that. So this is obviously the PowerBook G3, and this actually was, like I said, this was technically the second revision to the PowerBook G3. The first revision to the PowerBook was actually the G3 Kanga. The G3 Kanga was based off, I believe, the 5300. I believe that's what the first G3 PowerBook looked like, and that came out in '97. And in 1998, this style of PowerBook was launched, and it was called the Wall Street. And that was the first revision to, and that was the first model. There was two models of Wall Street. There was one model, and there was another model that came after it. And then they had the Lombard, which is this one. And then they had the top-end model, which was the very end of the run, which was called Pismo. And just to verify this, I do believe this is a Lombard series. It's been a while since I've been in one of these. So this latch, hold on here. This latch is very unique. Okay, I got it. Okay. So this is, okay, I see. What they did on the Lombard is they actually integrated a latch button into here. The Wall Street PowerBooks, you push this in and you would lift it up. This was obviously a change when they came out with the Lombard PowerBooks. So this is the Lombard G3 PowerBook. It does look very similar to the Wall Street, but it does have some differences. Most notably, it actually is thinner. They were able to make the chassis thinner on the Lombard series than what they used on the Wall Street. So this is a thinner chassis. It's also got a different style keyboard. This, I believe, is the same keyboard that was used on the PowerBook G4 Titanium. It's kind of got a bronze color to it. In fact, the nickname for this machine was actually Bronze Keyboard because it does have that bronze keyboard. It's got this really nice trackpad. This button has always intrigued me. I like this button for some reason. It's just very interesting looking. Macintosh PowerBook G3 branding right there on the screen lid with the Apple logo. Now, the Wall Street series of PowerBooks, this would have had the Apple logo down here in tricolor, and up here it would have said PowerPC, and then kind of in here it would say Macintosh PowerBook G3. Also, as a very last note, this actually was the very last version of the G3 to actually say the words Macintosh PowerBook G3, because the next revision to the G3 was the Pismo, and the Pismo dropped that and just called it PowerBook. So that is that. We've got two speakers here, one on each side. The screen size on this, I believe, is 14.1 inches. I believe that's the size of that. The resolution should be 1024 by 768, I think. I should double check the specs, but I think that is correct. Listen to that latch. This actually, this is actually one thing I do like about the G3 series of PowerBooks. That latch, I mean, that is just so cool, the way it latches like that. It's just so cool. Around on the right side here, we have a, I believe the listing said this was a DVD drive, but it says CD on there, but we'll figure that out. We've got a cooling vent and a Kensington security lock. Around the rear of the machine, we have DC input, which I do have a power adapter for this. I didn't get the power adapter with the listing, but I do have a power adapter that'll fit this. The infamous port door, and, I've talked about in the PowerBook G4 videos about how these port doors were easily broken. And this is, these things are just easily broken off. And so, it's a little dusty in there. Going to have to clean that out. Yeah, it's a little dusty in there. Going to have to get some air and try to blow some of that dust out of there. On the back of the machine here, under the port door, we have line in. That'd be for a microphone. We also have headphones. This also was the very first PowerBook to use USB built in onto the logic board. So we have two USB 1.1 ports on top of each other. We have a 10100 Ethernet port. This also was the very last machine, as a side note, this also was the very last Apple laptop, and probably the last Apple product to feature a HDI 30 SCSI port. So technically, you could still use the older PowerBook accessories that basically hooked up via a SCSI port. The next and last revision to the PowerBook was the Pismo, and the SCSI port was replaced, and it was replaced with two FireWire 400 ports. We have S-video out, we have VGA video out, and a dial-up modem. Underside of the machine, I showed you what it looked like earlier, but let's take a quick view of it here. And let's see, we've got a... And then on here, we also have, I believe this is IRDA right here. We lift it up, and we do have a IRDA, or infrared, sensor. Around this side, we have a PCM-CIA card slot. We have another cooling vent, and we have the battery. It's got a number on there. It's got a little sticker. Let's see. Let me remove that sticker. It's covering up the battery button to test the battery charge. See, we don't want to... there we go. Oh dear, didn't mean to do that. I may have to take some WD-40. Well, no. If I get lucky, I might be able to... Yeah, just get lucky and I can easily peel the rest of that off. Check the state of the battery. Nothing. Oh, there we go. We got lights. So this obviously is a... and it's a genuine battery at that. Let's take a look at this. It is a genuine Macintosh PowerBook G3 lithium-ion rechargeable battery. Copyright 1999. This could be the original battery to this machine. That'd be something. We do show lights, so that's good. And one thing I did, and I didn't mention, the latches. Let me open this back up and I'll show you what I'm talking about. How I took the battery out is there's these latches on each side. These little levers, you pull them out to release devices. This is technically a multi-bay notebook, and I'll explain what that means. So you see I took the battery out, and these are all hot swappable. So, you know, basically it works like USB. You don't have to shut the machine down to, you know, take out something out of the multi-bay. And all you do is you just slide what you want in. In this case, we're going to slide the battery back in. And push it in until it clicks. And the machine just turned on, and it just turned off. So yeah, maybe that battery is not any good, but we'll see. And then there's also one around on the other side as well. There's one here. This is actually, both of these are multi-bays. You could actually stick in, one of the cool things, I think there's another lever here, you pull it, and then out comes Optical. Let's see what we've got. Normally these things are labeled. Let's see what these are. It is a DVD-ROM module, so this does have a DVD ROM drive in it. I believe this series of PowerBooks does support the playback of DVDs. You can actually stick this DVD drive module inside of a Wall Street, but the Wall Street doesn't have an internal DVD encoder, so you have to use a specially designed DVD encoder that goes in the PCM CIA slot in order to watch DVDs on the Wall Street series of PowerBooks. So basically this, like I said, it's basically these two devices on each side, these are basically bays. You can actually take these out and you could swap in where this DVD-ROM drive is. You could take this out, you could stick a floppy drive in here, you could stick a CD-ROM drive, a DVD-ROM drive, or a zip drive, or you could add a second battery. So you can have one battery on this side, another battery on this side, and you can double your battery life. Or you can add in a zip drive, a floppy drive, a DVD drive, whatever in this other bay. And it's all hot swappable. These were fantastic things to have back in the day because, you know, not very many computers had device bays where you could swap out the devices and things like that. I mean, that was a really cool thing back in the day. At the underside of the machine, I showed you what it looked like earlier, but let's take a quick view of it here. And let's see, we've got a tag here, 5/10/1999. That might have been the year this was released, 5/10/99. Little lone foot has came off here. That actually goes right in there. I may have to maybe stick that back on with something. It's missing, it's actually missing 2 feet here. So I don't know if I could find feet for these. It's missing a foot here and it's missing a foot here. It's got 1 foot here and 1 here, so I might be able to find those feet. I mean, you know, it's not that big of a deal. The condition this is in, it's not, I mean, you know, it's not brand new condition. You can see the top is really scuffed up here and whatnot, but, you know, I might be able to get some of these scratches and scuffs out, or I might be able to cover them up. I mean, you know, I'm sure that's not, I mean, I don't see why I couldn't be able to do that. You know, finding a PowerBook G3, you know, in as new condition, it's gonna, you know, it's getting harder, and plus you have to spend plus you have to spend over $100 for one, and I didn't spend over $100 for this. Now, presumably, this is supposed to have a wiped hard drive, so I have to probably break out my OS disk, but let's see if we can turn it on. I will grab the power adapter, because I do have a power adapter that'll fit this machine. I do hear a hard drive. It's a little bit... My plans with this are to actually put in a larger hard drive and max out the RAM. Okay, so we do get that, meaning that it can't find any OS. So let's shut this down. And let's go ahead and grab my OS disk and the power adapter, and let's see if we can get some stuff done with this. Okay, so before we continue on here, I've got the power supply over here, and I want to mention one thing about the power supply on the G3 PowerBooks. This actually was the original power supply that would have shipped with the G3 iBooks, with the G3 PowerBooks. It is this rectangular brick, and this is actually a genuine one. You can kind of see there, Apple Macintosh PowerBook. This is a bit of a blurry image, but this is what the original power supply would have been to the G3 PowerBook series. The early versions, anyway, I do believe. The old style brick, and it had the black cable on it. Well, later on, I think there was some manufacturing defect or something with these power supplies, and Apple did a recall on them, or something like that, because I read something about where there was a recall on those power supplies or something. And this was right around in 1999, I think, and Apple just released the G3 clamshell iBook, and this was the power supply that goes to the G3 clamshell. It is obviously the yo-yo power supply. But one of the interesting things about this is I believe the later versions of the PowerBook G3 actually shipped with the yo-yo power supply when they discontinued that, I believe. But this is what Apple gave you if you needed to replace your power adapter for your PowerBook. They gave you one of these yo-yo power supplies. And it should be noted that there's actually two different versions of the yo-yo power supply. I'm going to mention this because this is important. This is the one that goes, let me take the cables off, that's going to be a bit easier to see. This is the one that goes to the clamshell iBook as well as the PowerBook G3 series. This cable is more of a, I don't know, goldish, tannish color. And you see the actual cord is actually see-through. You can see right through it, and you can see some of the copper wire. It's supposed to be that way. Because again, this is the 90s here. Everything was supposed to be see-through back in those days. And the barrel at the end is actually wider. It's actually bigger. The second revision to the yo-yo power supply was this one. And although they look deviously similar, they're actually not the same. These two adapters are completely different. Notice that it has a black and gray barrel and a black cable, and the barrel is actually smaller. You can actually compare the two here. You can see how the black one is smaller, the older one is actually bigger. This one here goes to the G3 clamshell as well as the G3 PowerBooks like this, and this one goes to the G4 iBooks and the G4 PowerBooks, and also the G3 white iBooks as well. These power supplies are not interchangeable with each other, so it's important that if you have a machine that uses a yo-yo power supply, that you get the correct one, because these are not interchangeable. This one will not fit inside of a G3 PowerBook, and this won't fit on a G4 iBook or G4 PowerBook. So that's pretty much the way it works. I know they look deviously similar, but they're actually different. So for this case, we're going to set this one aside, and we're going to go ahead and unravel this and get this plugged in. Now, I do plan on getting actually the brick power supply that's originally what it came with this machine. You can still find them out there, although that the yo-yo power supplies could be used. I just don't think it's actually original. I don't know if Apple was shipping these later on in life or not. And as you can see, the yo-yo power supply fits right in there. And now we should be, hopefully, getting something to that battery. So, let me go ahead and grab my OS 9 disc, and let's see if it can boot. Okay, so I've got my copy of OS 9 here. Well, I know you can't tell, but I just made this disc not too long ago, and I used to have a marker that I used to use to write on these things, but unfortunately somebody stole my marker, so... Okay, so let's go ahead and see if the optical drive works. And the one way we can test that is obviously by putting in the OS 9 disc and testing to see if it will boot. Oh, there it is. Okay, so let's see if this works. I mean, you know, if this drive doesn't work, I do have ways of getting an OS in it. But to do that, we have to hold down C. I know this is a bootable copy because I just tested it on the PowerBook G4 Titanium that I have, and it booted, so let's see. You can do it! No. Oh, no. No, she's not going to boot. I know that's a bootable copy, but she's just not going to boot, is she? So, there might be something wrong with this optical drive. So let's go ahead and try. I don't have high hopes. I don't think it's going to work, but we'll see. So probably what I'm going to have to do is I am more than likely going to, because I know USB booting does not work on these machines, I'm probably going to have to take the hard drive out, and I'm going to have to see if I can get OS 9 on it. I'm going to have to put it in another machine, so let's go ahead and try that, shall we? Okay, so as you can see here, I've got the G3 PowerBook apart here, and I also took apart this titanium PowerBook G4, because that's how we're going to get OS 9 onto the hard drive in here, since apparently it's not going to boot off this machine. The hard drive that was in here, is a Fujitsu drive. It is the Apple Original, where are you? Apple Original 4 gig drive, data manufacturer 7 of 1999. So I could tell this drive has never been replaced, because not only does the date give it away, but the torque screws that hold the drive into the drive carrier were actually torqued, where they're super tight, and so that took a little bit of work. So we're going to install this drive into this PowerBook and try to get OS 9 installed on it and see if this machine boots and see if she works. And off we go! Okay, so now we are in the stages of reassembly, and you can see I've got the hard drive back in, got the modem back in there, and now I just need to put this shielding back on that covers up the CPU, and I'm testing functionality on the G4 PowerBook over here, because I put the hard drive back in it, and it's looking pretty good. So we got full system functionality over here, and hopefully we have full system functionality over here. So let me get this shielding on, and we'll give it one more go. Okay, it's the moment of truth. I've got the machine all assembled. Let's go ahead and plug in power. It is not this one, it's this one here. Got the battery back in. Got the hard drive back in there after a load of OS 9 on the G4 PowerBook over here. So let's go ahead and give this a shot. You can see we got full system functionality here on the G4 PowerBook. Let's see if we can get the same from the G3. Here we go. Whee! Happy Mac! Yay, she boots! Whee! Alright! So as you can see here, I've got a load of OS 9.2 on it. I had to install it on the PowerBook, so obviously this DVD drive must not be any good. I can still get these drives. I've actually seen a couple of them for sale on eBay. So I might be able to pick up one and try to get another one in it. So this drive might not be any good, because it wouldn't boot my OS 9 disk. I even tried my OS 10 Tiger disk to see if it would do anything, and it wouldn't do anything either. So the drive's definitely got problems. So that will have to be replaced if I can find one. I do plan on putting a larger hard drive in it, and I do want to replace that hard drive because it is noisy, and I really don't like it when they become noisy like that. Here we go, we're booting right up into our fresh load of OS 9. Should be 9.2.2, and obviously the time is wrong. I'll have to go in and set all that. But yes, so this is the PowerBook. This is the G3 PowerBook Lombard. The Wall Street and Lombard series PowerBooks could not support internal wireless, so you can't get an airport card in here. You can get external airport cards to work via either PC card or a USB dongle, but since we're under OS 9, obviously nothing's going to work, and obviously, you know, internet access on this machine is not important. This is just going to be for nostalgia, really. Okay, it's OS 9.2.2, 128 megabytes of RAM built in. Let's do the, let's been a while since I've been in OS 9, so I gotta remember where everything is in here. Ah, there it is. It was right in front of me. Okay, it is... that. So obviously, this is a fully working machine minus the optical drive. I will have to put a new optical drive in it. If I can find one. I don't see why I wouldn't be able to find a new optical drive, because I do see them around every now and then. I do see them on eBay. This machine natively can actually hold 10.3 Panther, but I have no interest of putting Panther on here, mainly because I'm just using this. Because I'm going to be using this as a vintage OS 9 machine. I plan on putting all my vintage Mac games and software on here, so I have a little something to play with OS 9. I don't know, I might maybe at some point when I put another drive in it, I might maybe dual boot Panther on it. I might dual boot Panther and maybe do something along those lines with OS 9, but you know, but we'll see. So that is the PowerBook G3 Lombard. If you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more from the Techies world, hit the subscribe button down below, and I will see you with the next tech video. Thank you for watching.